What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Man, I haven't been this happy in a long time, and I have to say, all the naysayers, all the you can't leave, all the people who said it's never going to happen, I have wonderful news for everyone today, as it is my genuine pleasure to let everyone know that Alberta is, in fact, confirmed getting a vote on independence in the province. This is a separation referendum. It has been confirmed by Danielle Smith. So before everybody says, hey, Fringe, it's clickbait. It's all you just do is clickbait. No clickbait here, folks. No clickbait. Let's get straight in. Oh, it's such a happy day. Let's get right into the news. We've been waiting on Danielle Smith's reaction to the November 16th deadline into the 17th. I'm assuming she'll address people as to what her plan is for Mark Carney as he fails to deliver on his promises made on the bad laws that went through Alberta. The funny thing is now this referendum question is confirmed. It's going through. Under the Clarity Act, Danielle Smith has the ability to make it an official yes or no question, and it looks like that's what she's going to do, regardless of Mark Carney's stance. So here's a tweet I put out the other day after the big rally we had over the weekend, saying, anxiously waiting for Tommy's petition to be validated by Danielle Smith as a constitutional question so we can vote on independence early. The reason I say this is because APP currently has their question held up in the courts. And I'll be honest, folks, would I prefer APP's question over Tom Lukaszik's? Absolutely. In fact, Tommy the Commie blocked me on Twitter before I even engaged in him or engaged with him on the social media platform. Scared of the Fringe. I don't know why, but nonetheless, folks, a question is a question, and we are getting our vote for independence, one way or another. Now, Keith Wilson highlighted before the weekend, this goes one of two ways. Either this question is a nothing burger, as the judge had stated in the case where APP's question is being examined, or Danielle Smith uses the Clarity Act after validating signatures to put it through. It looks like Danielle is going to do exactly what people thought she wasn't going to. Let's get straight over to Keith Wilson, who I'm hoping to have on the channel very soon. We're going to try and get him on here to talk about it. I can tell you I'll have many questions for Premier Smith. I happily accepted an invite to the Alberta legislature today on November the 20th, which is a few days after the deadline, for her to meet with myself and my family and maybe have a little discussion about what's coming ahead. My kids are big fans. Here you've got Keith Wilson tweeting out, here's the best evidence to show how badly Lukaszik misled his supporters and that he has just now triggered a 2026 referendum on independence. His petition was not about forcing a vote in the legislature, read his application. He just filed the signatures needed to cause a referendum. Thank you, Tommy. Hashtag Alberta Independence. You can see down here, it's a legislative or policy proposal, requires signature from 10% of electors on the post-election day list. He hasn't checked off constitutional referendum proposal, but you'll notice down here, since a referendum appears to be imminent anyways, it should be the objective, not directed by special interest groups. So he's acknowledged this is a referendum. Down at the bottom in his the applicant's motivated by. Therefore, we, as represented by the signatory and the applicant below, propose a referendum on the following question. Do you agree that Alberta should remain in Canada? Now, for months, people have been asking, hey, Fringe, what does this mean? And of course, you see it received June 5th. 2025, the chief electoral. This was before Bill 54. So Tommy, well, he got his signatures. What's funny is before the weekend, They were claiming that they were at about 350,000 signatures. Today, I believe it says that they hit 450 something thousand, 456. We'll get to that. Interesting how they got 106,000 signatures over a couple of days. But again, Elections Alberta is going to have to validate, verify all said signatures. They're well over the threshold, folks. Gotta love Keith sticking it to Tommy. The Rise of Alberta comes out because Danielle Smith has already come out and confirmed Tom Lukaszik's petition is a separation referendum. I'll let you listen to the words straight out of her mouth. And again, it's nice to hear her say this because I think this is where people have said for a long time, what happens if everybody votes no? What happens if Albertans decide through Tommy's petition, if it were validated, what happens if we vote no? Is Danielle on our side? Well, listen to this 15 seconds of audio. You tell me what Premier Smith thinks at this point.
Mr. Lukaszik's vote is a yes-no question. It is a separatist referendum. He may be trying to characterize it differently. But if you ask people if you want to remain in Alberta, yes or no, there are implications if people answer no. Mr. Lukaszik.
Sorry. Let's hear that just one more time, ladies and gentlemen.
Lukaszik's vote is a yes-no question. It is a separatist referendum. He may be trying to characterize it differently. But if you ask people if you want to remain in Alberta, yes or no, there are implications if people answer no. Mr. Lukaszik.
Well, Tommy, I got to thank you because you did all the legwork for APP. There are millions. There are roughly 1 million people sitting on their database ready to vote for independence over your 400,000 signatures. Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting a referendum vote in Alberta. Now, before we get celebrating that, I do want to point out even Rise of Alberta. I wanted to extend a huge thank you to Tom Lukaszik and the Forever Canadian crew for helping accelerate Alberta's chance to vote on leaving Canada. Truly an outstanding contribution to the Alberta Independence movement. And there it is. Thank you, Tom Lukaszik, for accelerating the vote to leave Canada. You've got Keith, of course, chiming in right below, right on the money. Tommy, of course, is arguing, well, I wanted this vote in Parliament, in the legislature. I didn't want I didn't want the vote going to the people. This was about the legislature voting it down so that we could stop people from wanting to leave Canada. Now, your application spelled it out pretty clear, mister. I was thinking as somebody who was in the government as a deputy premier, you'd understand the importance of having somebody go over your applications, making sure they're filled out properly, your wording is accurate, because it would really suck to get all those signatures and find out you're in a referendum on separation. Now, I sat in an interview this morning with Jason Levine over on his morning show. Jeffrey Rath joined me on that show. I would highly recommend going and checking that out. But one of the things Jeff Rath brought up that's really important now that we're getting this vote, and this vote is happening, folks. You heard Danielle confirm it. The most important thing now is, will the referendum question, do you want to remain in Canada, be a single ballot question? Meaning, if Danielle starts to bring in questions about police, pensions, anything like that, it's a multiple vote referendum. This has to be a single ballot referendum. You can't have the premier now stalling out for Canada saying, oh, well, how can you vote you want to leave if you're voting yes on a pension plan or if you're voting on all these other things? Those things would change if Alberta votes on a referendum to leave anyways. And we may not win the vote. Now, I know, ladies and gentlemen, that we can and should win this vote, but we'll always leave things to chance that there's a possibility we may not win the vote. If we win the vote, all of those things go out the window anyways. They're not valid. They would have to be rediscussed on a new constitution. how things are going to work within the new Republic of Alberta. So it's probably best leave those things for a 2027 ballot, or else run this referendum in the spring. I'm not sure if you can run two in a year. So this is why we need to get Keith Wilson on the show, or any constitutional lawyer. They'll know the ins and outs. Regardless, this has to be a single question ballot. You've got CTV News, the mainstream shill prostitutes, voicing out about Forever Canada. Let's get a little better on the screen for you there. Just so you guys have it all front and center. They're saying that the petition surpasses the goal and collects 456,000 signatures. They're taking this as a win. They've literally just triggered a separation referendum in Alberta. Former Deputy Premier of Alberta says the success of a petition he circulated to make it official policy for the province to stay in Canada should signal to Premier Danielle Smith that she needs to put separation to bed. Or separatism to bed. Well, we all saw Danielle's answer. Tom Lukaszuk says his petition has collected more than 456,000 signatures, smashing the province's 294,000 signature threshold required to initiate a possible referendum. Those Albertans have said that they don't want anything to do with separatism, Lukaszuk said during a news conference on Tuesday. Well, that's good, Tommy. I'm glad that those 456 sheep don't want anything to do with independence. However, you still have a couple million Albertans that have to have their say. Therein lies the problem. It's a double-sided coin, you see. We're asking our premier to do the right thing and Alberta MLAs to vote on the issue and put separatism to bed once and for all. Well, looks like it's already been called. He said the petition has sent a strong message. Albertans are not outliers. We are as proud of being Canadian as any other Canadian from sea to sea to sea. Press Secretary for Alberta's Justice Minister did not say Tuesday whether the government plans to call a referendum. Now, one could say the footage we showed of Danielle Smith does not specifically call a referendum, but she very simply outlines this is a yes or no question, and should people vote no, there are consequences. The petition launched to counter separatists who wanted a referendum on independence in Alberta. Lukaszuk's petition asks, do you agree that Alberta should remain within Canada? Smith's government has urged Alberta to stay in Confederation, but also made it easier this year for groups to hold a referendum on quitting Canada by lowering the signature threshold. A question proposed by rival Alberta Prosperity Project. I love these words. CTV News, you're about to be pushed out of Alberta when we claim independence. No more media. Maybe we have Fringe News in the Republic of Alberta. Do you agree that the province shall become a sovereign country and cease to become a province of Canada? Sorry, I misread it. That do you agree that the province of Alberta shall become a sovereign country? It's a better question, no doubt. But again, I'm happy we're just getting the question. Lukaszuk said he hopes Smith doesn't actually call a referendum. Well, I hope she doesn't actually do what's necessary with this paperwork. This exercise was actually to give the premier an opportunity to avoid a referendum and further divide Albertans along political lines, he said. But she will make the decision, and if she wants to have a referendum right away, she can call one or she can attach it to the next provincial election. I love how he puts it that way. You know that this is Tommy gearing up to run against Danielle Smith. That's all this was. This is where I say the teacher strike, all this stuff, it's all political filibuster. Lukaszuk said he and other volunteers traveled more than 7,000 kilometers in a 33-year-old bus that said free candies and puppies through urban and rural communities over 3 months to collect the signatures. The stories we heard were compelling, he said. Well, I can tell you they're not. I'm not even going to read the rest of that garbled nonsense. We talked about it on Friday's live stream as Mrs. Fringe and I stopped and spoke to some of the collectors of the signatures for Forever Canada in Spruce Grove. I have never seen a more indoctrinated group of sheep in my life. I pulled up alongside where they were collecting the signatures. They came right over to the window, all smiling and happy. Thankfully, they didn't know who I was, but I simply stated out that, hey, look, I'm a YouTuber. I cover politics. I'd like to talk to you about independence. Can you guys give me one reason why Alberta should stay in Canada? They went on to move their heads into the window of my car and say that if I was a true Albertan, I would vote to stay. And I said, well, then why though? Like, why is it so important Alberta stay in Canada? I've read the documents about the money that we would keep, about the prosperity we stand to gain if we separate ourselves from the federal government. Please just give me one reason and I'll happily sign your petition, which we did not, by the way. At which time they said, well, we're not going to give you a reason. Well, if you stand behind your convictions to collect signatures, surely you must have a reason to stay in Canada. Nope, they just said, nope, if you love the flag and if you love this country, you'll stay in Canada. Obviously, I love a flag. And I happily waved it on the steps of the legislature on Saturday when everybody chanted, "Let's go," and "I am Alberta." Ladies and gentlemen, the sheep are going to be culled. The sheep are on their way out. Alberta is about to gain its independence. We are about to stand on the precipice of one of the greatest moments in Alberta's history. As soon as a referendum is called, I have no doubts the Alberta Prosperity Project will be putting their boots on the ground. It's important, if you're in Alberta, ladies and gentlemen, reach out, ask how you can volunteer, ask how you can get involved. The Fringe will be involved. I can assure you, we will have plenty of guests on the channel. We will be covering this all the way through to its finish. If you're anywhere else in Canada, the United States, you owe yourself to subscribe to the channel. Keep an eye on this news because, ladies and gentlemen, aside from Quebec, no other province has ever attempted to leave Confederation, and things are about to heat up really, really fast. Stick with me on this channel. I can assure you I will have Danielle Smith on at some point in the near future. Keith Wilson will definitely have APP on the channel very soon to talk more about what is going on as soon as we find out when these signatures are verified and how we progress from here. I'll also be keeping you up to date with APP's court hearings over the documents of their question and how that goes. Because again, if Tommy's question gets turned down, that leaves an open slot for APP to come in and start collecting their signatures. So stick with us, folks, because while nothing has been called yet, Premier Smith, as well as these signatures, have made it clear, one way or another, ladies and gentlemen, a referendum on Alberta independence will be held next year, whether it be in the spring or the fall. But one way or another, ladies and gentlemen, it is official. Alberta will be voting its independence. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. If it's your first time here, again, I hope this video's earned your subscription. Make sure you leave a thumbs up or a comment down below. Boy, the censors are going to have a field day with this one. They're going to want it suppressed. Make sure to share it out on social media from the rooftops. Alberta's getting its independence, ladies and gentlemen. Hashtag I am Alberta. Join me live on the channel every Wednesday and Friday. Aside from this Friday, Halloween, I'll be taking my kids out. But Wednesday and Thursday this week, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, each and every Wednesday and typically Friday here on the channel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I know I'm going to be celebrating. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.